Hey,
Where's
17
the
people
music?
already. Hello, 17 people.
We've got a great show today. It's going to be one of the best.
It's always one of the best.
Is that their
Yes.
username? 17 people? Is that you're just getting our hopes up? And there's one person named 17 people.
The account's going down. We've already lost viewers.
I'm going to join. I'm going to
Just
join up
renamed himself.
as an anonymous user, like called 1,000 users or something.
Nice. We have 1,000 viewers.
That's what we need.
From Kosovo. Oh, that's
I'm
not down the
absolutely
street.
going to register that on Twitch. Like just join people's Twitch streams. 1,000 viewers. Holy crap! 1,000 viewers just joined my Twitch stream.
Oh, this is awesome. I normally only have 5 people watching me.
Right?
All right, let's do it. You can hit the music here.
Oh, he's hitting the music. What's going on? Welcome to Black Hills Information Security, talking about the news. I'm your host today, Ralph May, and I am joined by an all-star cast, as usual, for what I want to call the best show ever. We have Mubix on today. What's going on, man?
Life as usual, and of course, power outages and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, that's why I
Wait,
still don't have
your
your
power's
camera
out
on.
a second time? And
No, it's still the same problem. And it's more than just your normal like switch out a fuse or switch out a outlet kind of thing. It's my house has power issues and has since we moved in. It's just gotten worse. That's all.
Gotcha. We got Derek on today. What's up, man?
how's it going?
Ready for a deciding show?
Yes.
And
like that, just like making your gamer tag last year's champion. I like that.
and last but not least, we have Ryan the Shootist, who's going to be running all the magic and making all the video effects and moving us all around.
Just here to push buttons.
Wait, he moves us around?
Yeah, no,
awesome.
he can move us around, and yeah, it's wild. Yep, see?
Ooh.
We need this.
Is this my exercise for the day?
There you go.
Yes, it is. That's how I
Nice.
get around.
How many laps can you do during the show?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
making me dizzy.
Yeah. So I guess let's kick this off with the first story. Actually, we have a bunch of stories today to talk about. I guess we'll roll in no particular order. Do you guys want to do Facebook here? I mean, that was gonna be fun.
Facebook was hacked.
Yeah,
Facebook.
so details are fuzzy, but Facebook isn't good. No. So
What?
yeah, I know, right? So 533 million Facebook users information was leaked on a anonymous form that posts leaked data. Actually, it's really, really easy to find. I'm not going to mention the form, but just note that it's out there. Anyways, so 533 million users, phone numbers, name, gender, location, relationship status, occupation, date of birth, and some email addresses were all leaked online. Not exactly sure where this data came from. I mean, it came from Facebook at this point, but we don't know like if there was a recent breach or how this data got acquired. And actually, Facebook has been pretty mum about the whole thing. I think they're just kind of like, this is a feature right now. But what do you guys think?
I was going to say, are these the 533 million users that didn't set their permissions right?
Yes, that's it. No, I don't think it was a scraping.
Yeah.
It did say the data was from 2019 and it had been fixed. They fixed the issue in 2019, Facebook said. So this is old 500 million data. This isn't, 2020 or recent collection of data. But yeah, I think lots of different countries. The US, there was 32 million. Egypt actually had the most with 44 million in the database, which is kind of interesting.
How many
Wait.
users does Facebook have?
Our Egypt had the most? Like, I know he has a lot of credentials, but I didn't know.
No, I meant the country of Egypt.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's
Big
a
E,
world record.
not little E. Got
I
it.
got to clarify this here.
Yeah, sorry, that was a little confusing. But I think I did read on Twitter that Zuck's old cell phone number was in there. I think he had to change it after.
Mm.
Really?
But well, I mean, hopefully he changed his password since, was it 2 years ago? And his password was 4Ds or 5Ds or something, right? I don't know, something like that. So it looks like, reading in the story, there was a vulnerability in the add a friend feature, which allowed the attackers to gain access to members' phone numbers.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, attackers are going to use this data for a bunch of different things. I think cell phone numbers are hard to come by. I can't imagine we're going to get any more spam phone calls than we already get right now. But I could definitely see this database being used in more like targeted, either SIM swapping attacks or other kinds of smishing. So sending phishing via SMS to, elicit some access.
So you mean to tell me the message I got earlier today that I won some Amazon earbuds is not legit?
Oh, it's totally legit. Let me send you some earbuds.
Yeah, hold on. Let me forward you a message to a link that you should go.
One of the things that I think that has happened over the last few years is that I don't really answer the phone when someone that's not in my contact list calls. Like, I just don't answer anymore. And actually, my wife was in my office earlier, talking to me, and the phone started ringing. It was a local number, and she said, "Aren't you going to answer that?" No. But I ended up answering it. She's like, "You need to answer it." So I answered it, and it was the vet, right? Like, they were calling to tell me the dog needed, stuff. But I don't know. I've gotten so numb to it. I don't even answer the phone anymore.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think someone brought up the fact that this has been out for 2 years. So why didn't maybe Facebook didn't know that they had scraped this much data? So it's just been floating around for, back channels, possibly being sold.
Said that it was sold for yeah, that's right, the spelling was Amazon with a 0 for those earbuds. Yeah, that's right. They said also in the article that the data was sold for $30,000, which I don't know, I guess it kind of surprises me that it's worth that much. I don't know, I guess it is a lot of data.
I think that was back when it originally came out. It's now for free. You can
go.
Oh,
sure. I meant the
download
original.
it 100%. Yeah, but back in the day, when I say back in the day, a couple years ago, it was worth $30,000. I mean, if it's fresh in Facebook, I mean, it wasn't that public, I guess. I mean, maybe now it's just a little bit more in your face because it really is free and anyone can go grab it and not spend $30,000, right? So, but. It's.
I guess for me, it would depend on who was in that dump. Like, if it happened to be like, Beyonce's publicist, that phone number, or Beyonce herself, or those numbers, $30,000 is actually pretty low.
Yeah.
But if it's just, there's always a chance that list of users could be much more valuable than what you might initially think.
Hang on one second. Grab Beyonce. I don't have it.
So actually, I did see there was another site where you could go check to see if your cell phone number is in there. And
yes, let me put in my phone number into a website that has a breach information. And so I can find out if I'm breached.
Yeah, no, but see, it only required a couple things. It required your phone number, your date of birth, social, and first and last name. Just a couple things in there, but they definitely could tell. Name. Yeah, if you were in the database. No, actually, that's not a joke. This really doesn't.
Oh, are you serious?
I'm dead serious. And to your point, yes.
Wow. Don't do this.
Just, I keep telling my children, and they keep saying that they understand that. I keep telling them the internet is a dangerous place. Do not trust anything on the internet. If it's said to you on the internet, just assume it's false.
Yeah, there's another site that is out there. It's actually, if you enter your password, it'll tell you if it's been breached or not, right? But you have to enter your current password.
Password complexity checker.
Yes, it's a password complexity checker. Yes.
You're going to send out that link for everyone later?
Yeah, no, I really don't want
I've
it.
done this on a phishing engagement, right? Like,
Yeah.
here, put your password in. You look. We're not storing it. You can tell it's secure because there's
because we
after
have the
HTTP.
block with a little checkbox. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So great stuff. All right. Let's move on to this next one I got here. Actually, we'll talk about the Ubiquity one next. And what's interesting about this Ubiquity breach is that we actually already talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago, I think. Anyways, for everyone who doesn't know, Ubiquity had a compromise with a third party, and that
Wait,
Oh.
sorry.
Go ahead.
You mean a third party of you that Ubiquity employed was breached? Okay.
No. So there was an
that.
issue. Hold on. This is the way it was described. There was an issue with a third party, and as something that you should, as a precautionary check, you should change your password at Ubiquity. Okay. Well, so fast forward to just on Thursday, Krebs on Security wrote an article about, let's just say, an anonymous person who posted about the actual events that had occurred, and it sounded like that third party was actually AWS.
Oh my God, that's priceless.
Yes, and so in addition, the article says that supposedly the person did the remediation, right? They were called in to and they wrote as a whistleblower. I guess they were called in to help them remediate the issue, and they're kind of saying, well, it was a lot bigger than they made it sound, and the attackers actually got privileged access to the LastPass account of a Ubiquity employee, and then in turn gain root administrative access to all of Ubiquity's AWS accounts, including S3 buckets, all application logs, databases, user database credentials, secrets, and all single sign-on cookies. So
they compromised a Ubiquity user who then the attackers were able to get into his LastPass, or her LastPass. And then, well, of course, if you got into my, password manager, that'd be what I would call a bad day.
It's a game over.
But don't you have MFA on your LastPass? Just asking.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
so,
but
there's ways to do it, though. I was just going to say, there are ways to do it. I'm not exactly sure of if there's too many public ones for all the password managers, but I mean, here's the scenario, right? You get on a box, they open up their password manager and they unlock it because they're using it in the normal function. Okay. Well, when that happens, that key is in clear text in
somewhere.
Yes. And if you have written something to go find it, now there are some, programs to do this. One of them being KeyPass was one. There have been other ones as well. But anyways, if you can go find it in memory, you can pull that out. And then in turn, right, you'll have access to the database in an unencrypted form. And most likely you could probably just pull the passwords clear text from there. But the big thing would just be getting the key, going from there, assuming they don't have two-factor. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could work that, right?
I mean, two of the most sensitive things on my computer are my screenshot repository and my clipboard, right? Because I copy and paste all the credentials all the time, right? So, I do have two-factor on everything that I can turn two-factor on for sure, but I still wonder, and I still get really paranoid. The other day, right before the news, I just got an out of the blue pop-up saying I need to enter in my Microsoft credentials. And I started freaking out. No, I take it back. It wasn't a pop-up. It was a text message that I got saying, hey, you need to, here's your Microsoft MFA key. And I guess I'm really paranoid because it freaked me out because I didn't ask for it. Turns out Outlook just kind of loses track of things, I guess. But anyway,
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure. Most likely, to your point, Rob, he probably didn't have two-factor. Maybe he just had a strong password. We can all say, I hope, and it's more sophisticated than that, but, that would be the easy route, right? Or maybe he had LastPass for Ubiquity and they didn't require two-factor. I don't know, man. But yeah, so once the attacker was in, then they kind of had control of everything, and they actually tried to hold Ubiquity for ransom, and they wanted 50 bitcoins in exchange to remain quiet about the breach. And they put in a backdoor, and then I guess
so that I can see behind you how much 1 Bitcoin is worth, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's they weren't worth this
It
much.
doesn't feel like a lot though, right? Like for people who grew up with Bitcoin being a baby thing, right? 1 Bitcoin seems like nothing. I know it's $20,000 or $60,000 right now for each one, or something like that. But like, I think even like when I get older, I'm gonna be crotchety on a couch somewhere saying, "When I was young, well, I could buy a stick of gum with a Bitcoin."
Oh gosh, yes. The price of bitcoins have gone down in the extortion amount, but I guess 50 bitcoins at the time was like 2.8 million. So they wanted 2.8 million to be quiet. Ubiquity did not pay supposedly, and found the back door in their AWS account. So I mean, it just sounds like they got owned pretty good. Told everybody that everything was fine, don't worry. But
I mean,
you have to
technically it is third party, right?
yeah, I mean, it seems like to me, like the real thing here is Ubiquity wasn't quite as forthcoming as they should be. I mean, I guess it's like a general rule in life, right? Like, just be honest and own it when you make a mistake. And that's not. I mean, they did put out a release, but you got to know that it's eventually going to all come out, right? Like, yeah, well, at least they didn't blame the intern, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, just being honest, like the whole thing sounds like they were trying to hide stuff. They really got owned. According to this article, they got owned pretty good, and they had really full access to everything, not just like a third party got access. Because you got to realize that I'm pretty sure that most, if not all, of their infrastructure is in AWS, and it's not like, oh, well, they were just sending emails from AWS, right? So there's a lot they probably got access to, and that they should be more honest about it. And a lot of users, for example, I have Ubiquity gear as well, and you can turn on remote access to it, and you can use Ubiquity's cloud to access your account, and this would have been compromised with that. So everyone's internal devices would be compromised with this as well. So this one seems so silly, but Call of Duty cheats having malware. So
wait a minute. Do you mean the people who are writing cheats also write malware? No.
Oh my god, it's wild, right?
I mean, this is like the late 90s all over again, and getting wares, right? And like,
yeah. Well, okay, so the cheat industry is actually a very, very big industry, and the business model is very lucrative. Okay, there are multiple online forums where people are creating cheats for very popular video games and making lots and lots of money. Okay, now there are also on these forums where people will give away free cheats or whatever it may be, and if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Or if you pay for it, it could be malware too. You don't know. In all of these scenarios, anytime you run these cheats, you got to disable your antivirus, take all the shields down. Like, this is, you're playing with fire, and you might get burned. And most likely you will get burned. And in this case, they were creating a cheat for Call of Duty, the newer version of Warzone, and it had malware on it. So...
Okay, so let's be a little honest here. All of the cheats for modern day games are malware. Like
they are. That's absolutely true. You're absolutely right.
I mean,
absolutely.
by definition, right? Like, that's what it is.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, they have to operate in a very in a malware method, right?
Oh no, that's what I was saying. I agree 100%. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Like, all of the anti-cheat stuff is getting to the point where, like, EDR is learning from anti-cheat, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, those companies who build EDR systems learn more from anti-cheat software than they do from like any other industry. And one of the things about the cool, because I'm a red teamer, right? I'm going to say the cool techniques that they utilize for anti cheat is some of the blog posts that I love to read, right? So because it helps me be better at CCDC, because it helps me be better at red teaming, like the pulling apart cheat bots and code is worth the 10, 15, 20, 30, $90 to pay for them, even if I don't have the game.
Yeah, they are very advanced, to your point. And they're constantly evolving them too, because it's like the continual rat race where these
was that intentional? The continual quote unquote rat?
Yeah.
I was just letting the pun go. I was just letting it go.
Dad jokes galore.
Yes, I just love them, man. I got a whole app of dad jokes. No, so they have to keep evolving to stay up for these cheats to work. A lot of times this is a paid subscription, and you pay $100 a month to just get access to the latest thing because they're always cracking down. So they're always continuing to evolve and send the new version out so that your cheat continues to work and not get detected. Like you said, it's definitely where the most advanced in-memory, evasion and access to the lowest level possible to continue to hook that game and get it to do what you want is happening, right?
You got to get past your AV, and you have to get past the anti-cheat,
everything.
like because I've been playing Apex Legends with my daughter, right? And I've just came to the realization that I'm old and I suck at video games now, but I do swear that there must be some cheating going on occasionally when I see like there's just no way that somebody, killed me as quickly as they did like sometimes, right? It just But so I just assumed that cheating is going on, but I would not pay $100 a month so that I could be the best at a video game. That's
it's wild too. So like the way some of these cheats work is they'll have an instruction, like a huge sets of things to do to make sure your system will run. And because these are pretty low level, even the version of Windows that you're running can affect whether this cheat causes the game to crash, right? That's really the biggest problem with cheating, is that because you're hooking this and you're doing unattended functions, there's a high probability the game's going to crash.
So they're basically hooking in at such a low level in the Windows API that it's like, I'm not saying it's like kernel level or something.
No,
but,
it's
like API, like wow, because that's
And so what they'll do is one thing is they'll make you put the malware on or the cheat on a USB drive and plug it in so that it doesn't. So none of your you're not scanning your system. You plug it in the USB drive. Check this out, right? You plug in the USB drive. You run the cheat. The cheat goes all in memory, right? It's all in RAM. And then you unplug the USB drive so that any scanning that the game's doing in the background does not find an on-disk presence of the cheat. So while you're playing the game, you're hooked in memory, it's running, but now the game developers have to look in memory to find it, wherever it's doing whatever, functions and how it may move, to hide itself. Again, it's advanced malware. But the article, though, talking about the fact that, obviously free cheats, watch out. And then, that this malware was hooking to do malicious actions. No surprise there, too. And arguably fair game. That doesn't mean that it's right what they're doing. I'm just saying that, you're playing with fire, man, every time you try to use cheats. And anyone could be malware, in my personal opinion, malicious malware outside of giving you cheats.
So using the cheat is not against the law. Installing software unbeknownst to the user who's downloading is, right? So I would push back on it being fair game. Morally, yes. Legally, no.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that you obtaining some software and running it on your computer doesn't violate the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, right? And you might violate your agreement, your end user license agreement with the company for the game that you're trying to play, and their recourse would be to ban you from playing it, I suppose. But you're right. Once you install a remote access Trojan onto a computer, you've crossed over that line into where that's illegal.
Yeah, no, I actually, to be clear, I'm not arguing that what they're doing is not illegal. Okay. And in fact,
Oh,
the
you're
game
just saying serves you right. That's
yeah,
different.
I'm just saying
Serves
you
right is
should be
different.
shouldn't be surprised
Should not be
if
surprised.
this happens. That's all what I'm saying. Like, just be prepared. Don't be shocked. Okay, this shouldn't be the moment where you're like, I can't believe them. I trusted them. They were like family.
So
like,
you're
this
saying
is not it.
play stupid games, win stupid prizes, kind of thing.
Yeah, like, yeah. Do your own homework. I mean, even though in this case it's so ridiculous to be like, oh yeah, I checked it out. I definitely reverse engineered this cheat, and it's definitely not malware. But yeah, fun stuff. Cheats are out there, and it is, to Rob's point, advanced malware, and it could probably be malicious. Not all of them are, but they all are act like malware to make cheating work.
So real quick, Derek, you said you wouldn't pay $100 for some cheats to cheat at a game. I will counter that with, would you pay $100 to get advanced malware that you can research every single month?
Oh,
$100.
Absolutely.
Like, right?
Yeah, that's a different motivation. No, I was talking about the motivation to actually do the cheating, right? Like, I don't know. I guess I just wasn't brought up that way. But to do the research to further my tools, techniques, and procedures. Oh yeah, that's a different story.
So
yeah, although I might counter that with, I would spend John Strand's money.
I'll say that there's a cheat framework out there. I don't want to name it. I'll talk to you guys offline, but there's a cheat framework out there that you get like access to a bunch of different game cheats for the $100. So you get access to, like, I think 3 or 4 at a time, and you can unsubscribe every month to the different cheats. So because I don't own any of the games, I don't mind unsubscribing to them, and I just switch back and forth between them.
Just to look at
to pull them apart. Yeah, absolutely.
Just to see what it's doing.
Yeah, no, like there. I'll tell you that some of the and I'm partial to Overwatch just because I like it as a game, but some of the Overwatch and Blizzard cheats out there are far and beyond anything I find for Steam, and so those are the ones I tend to subscribe to.
Yeah, I know that Blizzard is like legit about cheating. Like, they actually have a pretty decent program to find cheaters.
They were one of the first companies that basically made a world economy out of a game, right?
Yeah.
So they probably had a vested interest in hiring those people to help make those anti-cheats. So
hold on. Here's a hypothetical question. What if, there was, again, a site or a company or whatever that sold like loaders or droppers or whatever for red team engagements, like the kind of the same thing but not cheats? Like, would you subscribe to that? Like, what, would that be okay? And like, would it be worth it?
I mean, it depends on how successful it would be in staying ahead of, the defensive companies. Like, if it was worth, like, if it could be proven to be worth, like, hey, this dropper is not going to get, because it's going to get, when you use it, it's going to get burned, right?
Sure.
Like, it's going to, so
but we all know that the signature and the technique are two different things, right? And a lot of times the techniques really live, and the signature is what we're kind of evolving, right?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go back to my previous statement. Yeah, I'd spend money for it, but I'm probably more likely to spend John's money for it.
Oh, well, for sure. I mean, regardless, I'm just saying, is there value in that? Because I know that there was somebody recently who, another security company that is now releasing their tool set. And this actually segues. I didn't have the article for this, but this is great talking anyways. So they want 40,000 a year to access to their tool set. Okay. And the big thing was like, oh, this is cool, but 40K seems a little steep though, right?
Yeah, that seems a little more. I mean,
it's not even close to steep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
in my personal opinion, it seems close to steep. In the grand scheme of like the world exploit economy, yeah, no, probably not.
So I'll tell you from experience, most of the frameworks outside of Metasploit cost anywhere between 80,000 to 200,000. So core impact, immunity, those.
I think core impact did come down in the last couple of years to more like 10 to 15, but I mean, still, that's like per seat per year. It's not. I mean, that's not like your whole team could use it for that, right? So yeah, I agree with you. They're not cheap at all.
This is I put the link in chat there, both the public and the private one too. But it's Outflank, and they're selling their security tooling, and I guess it includes it's got a bunch of things in there. So it has a payload generator, office intrusion pack, stego loader, a lateral pack, a stage 1 for your C2, and hidden desktop. So I'm not exactly sure all the intricacies of that, but that 40,000 includes access to all of those tools inside their kit, and then the obvious updating of those, the continuous, when it gets detected or something that stops working, they're working on it or keeping it going, right? So, and I actually had a pretty long chat with another buddy of mine who is on a red team as well, like whether that was worth it, whether 40K. And I was kind of on Rob's side. I kind of think that the price is not too crazy, depending if you're charging other companies to do it and like where you fall in this line of like, building. Because the thing that I really started to think about in my mind is that the dev's not free. None of this is free. Okay. So and then it got into a bigger topic, which is about security tooling on the internet and, all this free stuff that gets put out there.
I mean, I don't think you're going to hire a developer for $40,000 a year that's going to be able to pull all that off. Right. Because you need more than one anyway. Right. But let's just say that you had one, you're not getting that quality of work for $40K a year.
No. Like you can't hire a guy who could build all of that for $40K a year. Hell no, dude. Like that's not even close. And so I guess that's the business proposition. That's the value proposition you got to look at. Sure, if you're just using this to play around with stuff, or you're not using it to have an advanced team, then it's probably not worth the money, obviously. But if you are, and you are running a bunch of more advanced red team operations, then this helps get you going into some of those ops, right? It speeds up some of that execution time and avoids you having to hire dev. So it is a thought, and it's definitely something to think about. No thoughts, Rob? Did we lose him again?
No, I'm just I think that calculation's a little off, just because if I'm paying $40,000, that's for a finished product that I think that a $200,000, $300,000 dev can do in 2 months. Right. So you're only paying 2 months of their salary. So sure, $40,000 might be on. And what I'm saying also is that Raphael Mudge, he pulled that price point crazily down. He we're what's the word when you're given too much candy or stuff for free? Like we're spoiled by Raphael Mudge because he pulled that price point so far down, right?
Sure.
Cobalt Strike was super inexpensive and super effective, and that's why it blew up, right? And all of the other frameworks that were way up there in price, like $100,000, $200,000, or whatever, had to come down, just like Derek was saying, because of the market. And so I think that $40,000 is a good price point because the market is so low right now. But I do think that they could absolutely charge more.
Yeah, I don't know about pulling. I mean, I think proof of concept off in 2 months. I believe a developer could do that for sure. But there's more than just like, it's not 2 months and you're done, right? Because there's going to be ongoing like maintenance with it, and there's going to be ongoing like stuff. I don't think you get a finished product in 2 months, even 6 months. That's why I said a year. Okay. And I think that I've worked at software development shops before, and it always seemed like it took a lot longer than it should have. I mean, just saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. Any like software dev stuff that I've been involved in, and I'm not even talking about stuff that I've even written or programmed, just like even just being in the conversations about it, the timelines are always way further
Yeah, I
out,
mean,
right?
even in 6 months and you have the working prototype out the door, and
Yeah.
then you have some dork operator like me who used it in some kind of way and broke it, and you're like, ah, crap, what the heck? How did you do that, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do see I do agree with you on the Cobalt Strike thing. I do think we're spoiled, and I think that we're entering into a time where we're going to find out how spoiled we were.
Right? Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree there.
Yeah, it really does come to the market too. If there's nobody out there making a competing product at that price level, right? Or somebody moves out of that market or stops making that item at that price level, everyone else is just going to capitalize that's left and charge way more, right? So
like in chat, Zero Cool, to answer your question, if you're talking about the 40K framework versus like some of the other frameworks, the appeal of it would be is that pretty much on a red team style engagement or any kind of engagement with a sophisticated customer like Metasploit, I wouldn't even bother to use it. Honestly, I don't even bother to use Cobalt Strike unless it's heavily modified anymore. I've moved on to other things, some stuff that we've developed internally. Like it's all about getting caught or not. Now I'm talking about a red team engagement. If it was just like an internal, like a standard pen test or even like an assumed compromise test, maybe not so much. But when a firm is hiring you to pretend to be the sophisticated bad guys, you kind of have to bring the A game, right? And I mean, I'm not knocking on Metasploit at all. I'm just saying that I can't remember the last time I used anything out of Metasploit that didn't get busted by some security product.
sure, none of that stuff is turnkey. I mean, there's a ton of C2 frameworks out there nowadays too, like a ton. And, some of them are a little bit better, some of them are worse. But, that's what we talked about, the stage 0 loader, just getting initial shellcode to run on a system without detections. A lot of that stuff is not in any of those frameworks. And you're not getting the stuff that you get out of box in all of those frameworks is signatured 14 times over. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so that's what they're talking about in the more advanced piece. It's actually getting that hook, getting the first beacon or, shell without getting detected, getting that first fish or some other kind of execution from the user to run no problems, right? That is hard.
Oh my God, it is so hard. Like mind-numbingly. I mean, it used to be easy. It's only here recently where it's, in my opinion, recently being the last couple of years, where the game has just really changed. And, I honestly thank Microsoft for that and Defender and pushing the game. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of pushes in different directions with the EDR vendors and just overall the industry. I mean, how many times can we pen test a shop or do something and just totally wreck them and not take it to heart or not try to improve the security? And maybe it takes a couple years, but eventually they just start listening to what we're saying, or you have other companies that just take everything to heart. And it does not get easier. It gets more sophisticated. And so when you do end up with the repeat customer who's looking at you to come in with the most sophistication that you can to simulate a sophisticated threat actor, you're going to have custom stuff. And that's just where we've moved to now. So, the days of posting it online and being like, this is great, it's going to work for everybody is pretty much dead. So.
I mean, the signature thing, it makes me chuckle sometimes, right? Like I have a coworker who wrote, 100 lines of C# that basically enumerate shares, right? And it got flagged, and it won't run anymore, right? And I think it's funny, right? Because I just envisioned that, there are groups of folks who are just following a bunch of security researchers and people who go post things out and they write signatures for it. And that's their day job, right? Like just basically writing signatures for GitHub projects.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, real quick.
Yep, go ahead, man.
The other thing is most of the frameworks to build out these tools now report a bunch of telemetry about what's being built, and we'll send it off to GitHub or to Google or whatever. I'm sorry, Microsoft. And so one of the big things for CCDC is because Defender is default on all these systems, building out malware for CCDC, you have to be super disconnected from the internet the entire way
Yeah.
to even have malware that's going to work, because we've had instances where we spun up, Cobalt Strike or whatever for CCDC, had custom profiles, had custom builds, and the first hour that it was online, there was a signature for it in Defender, and the teams didn't do anything. The blue teams at CCDC are supposed to be the ones doing the defense, and they didn't do anything, and it was just popping us out of everywhere.
Yeah,
So,
yay, machine learning. Man.
All of that stuff.
That's funny. I recently copied over a backup drive to another drive to have another backup, and I copied my work directory over, not even thinking, and kind of walked away from the computer, came back later, and I lost count of how many notifications I had from Defender about, we don't know what this is, and you have real-time protection turned off. You want to submit it to us? I mean, there must have been thousands of them. I was like, oops.
Yeah, we definitely live in a censored world, or like a bunch of sensors grabbing all this stuff. Like one of the ones I talked about. Yeah, right. One of the ones I talked about in my class with phishing is that Google actually will parse your URLs, every URL that you visit, looking to identify whether that site could be malicious or not. Okay. And it uses whatever machine learning or whatever scanning algorithms to take that. And it uses everybody who's using Chrome is participating as a scanner out there, and every site that they visit, Google eventually will flag that. And so that in the browser, Google can be like, oh, I've seen this URL. It's malicious. We're going to put an extra warning in front of this browser. So when you're building your fish, you don't even want to use Google. It's nuts how many of these things are doing this in real time, and how fast too. I've seen it happen where I built a site, it had a login, and Google had identified it inside their safe browsing within like a couple hours. So it sucks, man. But we're all just going to be building malware offline.
No, it sucks for a small subset of people. For the vast majority of everyone else,
they're benefiting for sure. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, all right. So the next article I had was about another water system attack, water plant attack. So I guess this is a thing now. But all right, so the first article was from Florida, and there was an attack on a water purification system, I believe. And when we talked about that story, they got in via TeamViewer or whatever. So I guess they never caught that guy. But I guess somebody else decided to do something like this, and they got him. They got caught. So they supposedly logged into a I can't remember where it's at here. I was looking at an article. It was a water treatment facility in it doesn't say Kansas. Yeah, Kansas. There you go. So, anyways, it's a water treatment facility in Kansas, and they got access to it, and they started to change some of the chemicals, I guess, and they got caught. So, is this the new ransomware now? We're gonna, water treatment facility plants. We're taking them down. Are they soft targets? Is this where we're going? Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, God, I really like to drink water. I mean, it's on my list of things that I really like to do.
I mean, critical infrastructure, I feel like, is kind of behind the times here, especially when we talk about what do you call it? Industrial control systems, right? So SCADA.
I'll push back there.
Go ahead.
It's behind the times digitally, but physically and flow, it's not. Like every industrial center that I did a test for when I worked at a company that we did plenty of them for, they had so many physical controls. Because there were, they hired some, not every operator over there was, a genius or a chemical engineer,
Sure.
Right? So they had so many controls that, your Uncle Bob could be, or Homer Simpson could be at the controls and not have to worry about anything going wrong, right? Because all of those controls have been in place for years. and intentionally there so that they could hire the least, skilled operator to handle it for the day, right? To do shift work. And so all of those controls are still in place. They still do a fantastic job. And that's probably what caught this issue, right? Was
an alarm went off going, hey, wait, this is not how this is supposed to be, right? Like an actual physical alarm, right? Like, yeah. So like, I think that makes me sleep better at night, right? But I will also say that, one of the things that, makes our society, or Western civilization, Western society great is like the decentralized nature of it. But it's like terrible for this kind of thing. Like if you have a municipal water, like I've done, tests for municipalities before, like small cities, and they just don't have the budget to fix a lot of this stuff, right? They don't even know in a lot of the cases. And I just wonder, like, our water and our power like plants, on a smaller scale where they weren't necessarily designed to be in 2021, right? And then, they have to get remote access, set up, and they do something like, hire some local IT guy who comes in and sets up TeamViewer, and they all share like a username and a password, and they expose it to the internet. And that's like, okay, job done, right? And that's obviously not the way to do that. And I just wonder, like, how much of this kind of stuff is budget restricted, and I don't know how you go about fixing that, like in mass, right?
Sure, and I think to Rob's point, so he talked about the fact that these SCADA control systems and these other like industrial control systems, they have a lot of safety checks in there because they're dealing with like life and other things, and to put the lowest common denominator as the operator on these devices, so that they can operate and we can know immediately if something's gone astray, right? But I think that what I talk about when I say like low levels of security sophistication is that a lot of those systems don't have, and to their point, kind of on purpose nowadays, they don't have any kind of like real good remote administration, or it's very dated, and the security around those systems was from a very, very long time ago, right? And as they've evolved and now we need that operator to work from home, we've had to find weird ways to make this all work, right? And that's where the security, I think, is coming into play, right? We have these systems that are designed to be safe as they operate and not require anyone, super intelligence to operate them. But as we try to turn them more digital in a way, or access in ways that we had never really anticipated, then that's, I think, where these problems come in.
I guess I kind of forgot about that. Oh yeah, you have to work from home too, Mr. Water Plant safety operator.
Well, I mean, like, how else did they get access to these systems, right? It's not like they kicked the front door down and like, went in there and started turning knobs, right? So, I mean, obviously they have some remote access to these systems. Now, to your point, whether they should or not, that's a great question. But if they're going to anyways, then we need to look at how we secure that, right?
Every water treatment plant that I've been to, they would never have someone work from home because it's usually one or two people inside of each area, and they can very easily control that, right? It's not like an office building. You have very few people on purpose going around the facility. You might have some security guards. Like, there's a reason that security's tight there already. Sure. Physical security, like, there's a reason. Like, this is, again, going back to it's life, right? It's I hate words. Loss of life. So there's regulations, federal and state regulations, that put security around these things already, right? So the problem I see as well, just like you were saying, Ralph, is that as the newer generation comes in, they're going to be expecting iPads and remote administration and all this digital stuff, where everyone who was older, who have been operating these things by hand, are absolutely happy with how it works. And there's a lot of benefits to how it works. And I'll tell you that dealing with bug bounties for these things too was hell, because all the researchers would be, patch this now, and you'll be like, it's a water treatment plant.
Let's do it in production.
right? Like we're not going to patch this in 90 days. We're going to patch this the next time we have a new flow control, which is in 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so all I'm saying is like the security of these things are actually really good. If it's not digital and stuff we understand, and it doesn't mean that it's not really good security right now, right? There might be a netcat listener out there that someone can get into, but like the fact that both articles that we talked about never actually resulted in any bad stuff happening to humans is a testament to the fact that the security, physical and otherwise, manual and otherwise, is really good at these places.
Security in depth. Sorry, I had to.
So it's those alerts that are saving them, right? And maybe we don't all need remote access to this little knob that hardly ever needs to get turned or changed. I'll take remote alerts, but maybe not like, let's turn up the chemical in this.
Yeah, there should not be write access at all.
Yeah.
We fought that fight at a previous company I worked for quite a bit about having iPads and other types of knob turners as apps on the Apple ice app. Like you can find apps on the Apple Store for like SCADA stuff, and it's super scary because sometimes they have static URLs and IP addresses they talk to.
Default pens.
Yep. But the thing that we pushed really hard for is read-only access.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so no more hacking water facilities. No, we're probably going to read another article about a water facility got hacked. But speaking of the next article, Rob, I think you had one, the Mac OS stuff, right? You want to talk about that?
So this was an article about... so we all know that Macs don't, and I'm stealing Derek's joke, that Macs don't get viruses.
That's true, they don't.
So I added on to his joke that instead of viruses, they get text files. And so this CVE for macOS basically allowed, and that's not the right article, I don't think. But anyways, it allowed an attacker the ability to send a text file over to a like via fish or whatever, and essentially because the text file in Mac loads up in a reader that has HTML capabilities to render, when you open the text file, it would render the HTML, and you could do all kinds of file pushing and iframe and all that kind of stuff to send data from files on disk over to your system, and it Gatekeeper didn't care, essentially. And so like I probably would have never thought to email in a text record or text file to someone on a Mac to and how much effect this would be. And apparently going through this, he got stuff to include like Amazon AWS credentials, other API credentials, passwords that were stored all over home directory, because a user's like Gatekeeper doesn't care about your home directory, and so you get access to home all you want. So it was pretty nasty, and it was just a freaking text record. Yeah, you got Etsy password right there.
There's a whole lot of fail going on here,
right?
Just like,
is this
starting with why does the built-in text editor need to render a URL? I mean, because if you're using a text file and you can't copy and paste the URL into a browser, like I like text files aren't for you, right?
Right.
Oh man.
Well, so, I had two questions. One, is this still valid? Like, can you still exploit this? I mean, I guess it's depending
if you have it patched, I would assume so, right?
So what they patched was the ability for the HTML to cause the CSRF or for the not CRS, for the ability to have the HTML access and push local files. You can still have it load local files. It just won't send it to a remote host. So it's using, oh my gosh, what's the flag? There's the header that stops that, but
so use WebSockets instead. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, WebSockets, they're my new. Oh, sorry. We'll talk about
so when I tested this the other day on my own Mac, it still worked, but it only worked locally. I couldn't get it to push to a remote system.
Yeah, I mean, this reminds me of the problems that Microsoft has had in the past with RTF, right? Like, I think, and Microsoft Word will do some interesting things like render. Like, if you embed an HTML link in Word, it'll go try and retrieve the contents of it. And I think these are features that people don't really realize are happening in basic apps that they. Like, I guess they take the functionality for granted, right? There's a lot of stuff going under the hood sometimes on that text editor. I even remember hearing one time that there was a vulnerability in strings, and there was a threat actor that targeted some researchers or some blue team members with their malware, that they would trigger a vulnerability in strings when you ran it, which, if you think about it, is quite terrifying.
So I mean, think about it though. A lot of the chat programs now have like rich text inside them, where they're taking fonts or they're taking font sizing, HTML. They can render it and stuff. So it's actually it's super annoying too when I'm just trying to copy and paste something in raw text, and then you paste it over to some chat program, and it takes over the font and everything from the site you copied it from. You're like, son of a bitch. Anyways,
so, to go down this route a little bit, like you were saying, Ralph, I actually submitted a bug to Twitch, which was just a cross-site scripting in the chat. And the cool thing about having cross-site scripting in a chat is that it loads for everyone who's viewing that chat, right? And there's thousands upon thousands of people watching Twitch. And the reason I submitted the bug was because I found one, to do the right thing, but two, there was a bug that I found in Chatbot from Streamlabs. And so Streamlabs has a lot of software around streaming and Twitch and stuff like that. And Chatbot actually had what is it? It's not Elastic. It's the web framework for Windows. And anyways, so it was using the
ASP.NET stuff.
No.
Angular?
No.
It's not Elastic. I know what you're talking about. It's
Words.
Yes.
I hate them.
Yeah. No.
Anyways, that framework it was using for everything, and it had a bug where the debugger for Chrome, Chromium or whatever it uses under the hood, Electron. Thank you.
Yep.
So Electron has a bug in it where the Chromium install that it uses to build out the web pages actually had the debugger turned on by default. So essentially this attack, you load up this cross-site scripting inside of the Twitch chat. It flags the bug in the Chrome bot that gives you code execution on the streamer's system.
Oh.
Yeah, so you could essentially target any streamer you wanted by attacking the software that was reading the Twitch chat and seeing the cross-site scripting and triggering the bug.
Nice. They just start making bets that they're going to lose, and then
and then killing the process. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know. I just immediately go to malicious thoughts.
Your browser's your new operating system, right?
Oh,
yeah,
totally,
exactly,
man.
Exactly like John's been saying. Browser's the new operating system.
Yeah, everything. So, I mean, I can think of a bunch of apps right off the top of my head that all use Electron. Electron is just Chrome wrapped around for all the different OSs, so you don't have to write a multi-platform app. Yeah. And most of the time, it's just a web app anyways, and they're just based off of APIs. I mean, we have Discord, Teams. I would say most of the apps running on my computer right now are Electron apps, right?
Yeah, so if you want to check this out for your own sanity and see what's going on, Tavis Ormandy was, of course, released a tool called CEF Debug, and you can run it. It will tell you what Chromium or Electron apps are running on your system and which ones have debug turned on. And yep, that's the one. And it will let you know which ones are exploitable too. And that's how I did it. I used his tool to find out that this streaming chat did it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's hilarious. Bitcoin keeps dropping when we talk about some of these stories. That's actually made my day.
That's just it. We do this show to see if we could actually affect the market. That's why I keep the ticker up there. Depending on what we say, we're just seeing if is it swinging the market any? No. Yeah. So yes, the browser's everywhere. That is really cool though. I'm definitely have to check this out. That'll be my next.
Yeah, I use it quite a bit on engagements too, just to see what if I'm using a golden image from a client or a customer or whatever, and they have a bunch of stuff running. There was actually a bug in a not to be named EDR system that was using Electron for their interface for the administration. It was just not accessible to the standard user, but the debugger still was. And so I was able to use this exact same tool, the CEF debug, to find that run a system essentially using the EDR.
Next thing you know, you put cross-site scripting in the logs that pop up at the EDR vendor's computer and pop their systems.
Yeah. Let's stay on the legal side of things.
No, that's something that probably is happened. I don't know, but yeah, that's pretty interesting though. Oh,
I know what I'm doing this weekend. Cyril says.
Yep. All right. I think. Did we have any other articles?
We're 12 minutes over time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I have to go grill hamburgers before I have a revolt in my house.
Yeah, no, we don't want your wife coming back in and yelling.
I don't want to relive that.
You mean yelling at us?
Yes. Yeah.
Asking if we're done yet.
Yeah, exactly.
The best part about that was when Erica came in shortly after to ask John the same question. Those were the days.
Well, I guess that is it for today. Thanks, guys, for joining. Thank you, everyone, for checking out the show and hanging out with us for a little bit as we talk about some of the security news articles. So I guess, Ryan, you can take us out, sail us out from the sunset.
Yes, this is Nubich and Mac 5.